Welcome back to another fantasy video with me, JD. You're joining me for both the round 17 and 18 reviews, really. Unfortunately, wasn't able to jump on last week. Combination of sick and had some stuff going on, which was a bit of a shame, really, because I had a decent week in the end. Scored a 23.98 last week, which, spoiler, was also my score for this week, unless I somehow stuffed something up. Had the vice captaincy on merit, took the 120, which was a pretty big score. But obviously, faced a fair bit of carnage. But just quickly, the trades for that week were Fisher out and Will Day out, and then brought in Rosie and Sarong. And man, I regret the Sarong trade in so much. The fixture was good, but he's such a fraud, and I shouldn't have done it. I was already hating on him in Supercoach. Don't know why I went there in fantasy as well. Should have used it as an opportunity to go left field, but I thought he'd be all right and had some matchups where he wasn't going to get tagged, but he ended up getting tagged anyway. Like they put Graham on him and used him as a tag when Tigers just really haven't been tagging much at all. So yeah, pretty frustrating. But what last week the Butters Rosie combo 136 147 was huge. I had traded in Caldwell I think the week before, so the 130 there. Simpkin the 106 was a nice little score too, and the Merit 120, and then the generational McKercher hold coming back with 123 was great. So yeah, I think Sarong trade-in was a disappointment. Sexton's 55 was a disappointment, and Jordan 57 wasn't great either. And then moving on to last week, round 18, we had a pretty good one as well. So another 23.98, and this was especially frustrating because they took 2 points off my boy the Tank Nankervis. So it should have been 2400, but it was not. So yeah, where were we? I think we're 2900, and then last week we moved into 2200, and then this week into 1700. So or 1800ish, which is good. I was hoping for maybe a little bit of a bigger move, but Sunday a couple of things went against me, which is overall still a decent week though. So traded out Sexton Gone for Moore and Nankervis. So even before the news that Sexton wasn't going to play and Heaney was going to miss, I was still trading Sexton and holding Heaney. It was with the Dowling cover. But I think others probably jumped on the same with the news Sexton was out. Now I went to Dill Moore because his fixture on the run home is good. I thought he might score okay last week as well. So yeah, disappointed with just the 73 really after 127 and 119 in his last two, obviously softer fixtures. But yeah, the run home is decent and Hawks are obviously in good form. So I think there's a chance that he is a good pick over the back end. But it's probably a bit of a blunder in hindsight when we go to this week's trades because I could have jumped on someone like Philippou instead. Banked a bit of money. It would have helped with trades this week, but it is what it is. And then yeah, gone into Nankervis. So at 117, which is good. Obviously Marshall had the 150, so plus 33 points. But once again, this fixture on the run home looks really nice for Nank. You've got Sweet who gives up points. You've got Cameron who gives up points. You've got Cherry, which will actually be one of the harder ones. Marshall gives up points. Easiest, I think, matchup still in the league. Meek is probably on the harder side. Which should be back for this Suns one, which may be a little bit tougher. But yeah, I think pretty good run for Nank. I think it's probably the best of the rucks. The only one I can think of that obviously liked more was De Koning, who would have strongly come into consideration, but with Pitternet named, that ruled him out, and sure enough, scored just the 90. Now, with that said, if they drop Pitternet, this run home is pretty nice for him. And honestly, after the Cherry matchup this week, I could see myself still jumping onto TDK. Yeah, we talked about a lot of these already, but yeah, Port, so Sweet, DC, Meek, BJ. Actually, Flynn should be back by then, so maybe West Coast won't be as bad, and then Marshall. So like De Koning's run home as well. And obviously a little bit cheaper than Nankervis as well. Extra 100k would have been handy this week. The rest of it, the team itself, what's there to discuss? So, I think in defense, Nick Martin and Lockie Whitfield have been great. The other four here, not great. I mean, McKercher at 89, honestly, looks very good compared to the other three. He had, I think, another 9 kick-ins, so 2 weeks that are good. And this is with quite low time on ground here, so just 72%. I think I saw he had 16 minutes on in Q4, so I think that was just resting him with the dead game there. So, yeah, I think McKercher, I'm pretty confident with on the run home. Sheasel, I think, it could be in for a Sincotta tag this week, which is a bit of concern. But then after that, the North run home is good. And then, yeah, Dacos is fine, even though he's going to get attention. He'll be a little bit up and down, but should be good. Young is the one I'm a little bit worried about because even though the midfield fixture for the next 4 is really good for Freo, he's been spending more time forward. Oh, I mean, this will show it like, yeah, inside mids, North, second best, Freo third best fixtures. So I think that's all looking pretty good. Who's hasn't got good fixtures? Essendon and Richmond. D's, Crows. I mean, Dawson's been a bit of a disaster. He might get one more week. We'll see how we go. All right, so let's just have a quick look at old Hayden Young. So yeah, like this last month, really like 60% kind of CBAs dipping down a little bit, which is a bit of a concern. So he should be all right against Melbourne, but this is one that I'm looking to move on. I mean, may as well just go into this. Actually, no, it's still. We'll talk about trades in a second. Actually, Evans and Shoemaker making nice money. Evans like really good bench cover. Beat out Cheezel this week. In the mids, so we took the Goulden 151, which was a fantastic. Love that. Big score definitely helped this week. And look, I would have considered Merritt for the C afterwards. Like Butters, I was considering for Supercoach, but probably not as much for fantasy, just because he's probably more suited to the other format. So yeah, really happy to have hit on that score. Bont has been a bit up and down, but I mean, what 142, 126, 100, 100 last four. You take that. Cats this week should score well. Merritt, yeah, tagged again. Like to be honest, getting 90s in these tagged games isn't bad. And then the 120s, which kind of helps balance it out. So you end up with like a 105 average, but hoping for a little bit more. Shouldn't get tagged this week or potentially next week or even the week after that. So we'll see. Hopefully, even though the fixture is meant to be harder for the Dons, there's a chance Merritt actually goes unchecked the next 3 weeks, which would be really handy. Dawson, I've still got no idea what the Crom are doing, and I've got no idea what they're doing with Dawson's role. Let's have a quick look at these CBAs for Dawson, because I was at the Essendon game, and so I couldn't watch this one. George said that he played like forward a bit, or more forward and then pushing up to the stoppage. But I mean, 84% CBAs is strong. I'd have to look at the heat map to see if it's much different. Best CBA numbers in a while, which was kind of expected with Rankin out. Laird's had them most over the last 3. Yeah, so Rankin out, and then Barry's been okay. So I don't know, it's hard because I'm a believer in Dawson, but obviously his form hasn't been particularly crash hot. The Port boys in Butters and Rosie were good last week, and against Richmond this week. Honestly, I think you got to consider captaining Butters. The only concern here is the Graham tag. The same way that Sarong saw it. Sarong, super disappointing. I don't even know if he got tagged last week, but he's not gone over 100 in the last 5, so I think I'm considering jumping off. This form should turn around, and trading him out could come back to bite you. But really, he had like a 140 in round 8 against the Tigers, and then I mean, which he's playing this week, and then like really, you'd have to go back to round 3 to be excited about a score that he produced. So, yeah, I can see myself wanting to get off him. LDU, I'm a bit worried about the matchup this week against the Blues. I mean, Swans is a harder matchup, and he scored 106, but then after that, the run opens up, so I'll probably end up holding LDU the whole year at this rate. Cherry against Grundy is one of the harder ruck matchups, so a 94 is not too bad. Hopefully, the Blues drop Pitnet, and he should score okay there, and then score again well against the Cats. And the forward line, I mean, like Flanders, Zorko, Caldwell, I could talk about their performances, but the reality is you're probably not going to trade out any of those fellas. Yeah, Dill Moore, as I mentioned, was disappointing on the trade-in, but hopefully he can bounce back this week against the Pies because they're looking a little bit cooked. Simpkin, an 88, which is nice in a week where I probably would have considered trading him if I didn't have any other issues, to be perfectly honest, just in that Swans matchup. Yeah, Blues this week I'm equally concerned with whether or not he's going to have the ability to put up decent points, but then after that fixture opens up. So I can kind of see myself just holding him as an F6 for now. I think the only thing that really maybe disrupts that is if Fisher comes back. Like I probably want Fisher over him. Yeah. And then Dowling, as I told you, earmarked for the cover. So yeah, believer in him, and he did well, which is good. Thomas McMullen also decent scores. But yeah, anyway, that's it for the week. I think one thing I'm actually struggling with is I don't really have good loopholes because like Evan Schoenmaker playing, Fraser playing, Thomas McMullen playing, McAuliffe's the only one that didn't. So I can loop in the midfield, but that's it really. So let's chuck everyone on the field. Have I got my price sort of little add-on? Where are you? What is that? Is that the icon for it? Maybe. Okay, so as I mentioned, like there's a few that I'm interested in getting out of. So Young, even though the Freo fixture doesn't look too bad, I'm a bit worried about his role, so I'd like to jump off him. The rest of my defenders I'm pretty happy with. I think there's two defenders I like that I don't have. That is Newman and Clark. Now, if I look at DVP for these two designated kickers, we'll go over the old designated kicker. I believe Carlton's the one with the insane run home. Where's Freo at? Freo's on the poorer side. I mean, yeah, Essendon Geelong in the middle here. The Carlton's is the interesting one. Got North this week, which is the hard one. But then after that, it really opens up for the last five, really, with some mega plus matchups, including the St Kilda matchup to finish up, which is huge. It's the matchup we love targeting more than anything else. So, I can see myself wanting to get to Hayden Young to Newman like this week or next week. The cheap option is Stewart, who I don't mind at all. But yeah, like that's the one I probably want to get off. I think I want to hold everyone else in my defense. In the mids, my luxury upgrades. So Dunkley and Neil have obviously been great. Neil, I'm still pretty worried about gets tagged on the run home. There's a few matchups in here where I can see them trying to run tags into him. Bedford should be back for round 22. I don't know if Windy's back for round 21. He may not be. Swans have both got Rowbottom and Jordan as options. Look, Pies probably won't tag, and then Essendon could send Caldwell to him, who's done a good job on him in the past. So I think there's a decent chance he gets 3 or 4 tags in this last 6. But Dunkley shouldn't be tagged at all in this run home. So I think he is someone that could look at despite kind of underperforming on the weekend. The hard part is he's priced at $1 million, which is quite dear. Treloar coming back from his calf, I guess, could be interesting, but this Swans matchup the week after this one, I'm not a huge fan of because I feel like Treloar is taggable and Jordan would be a good matchup for him. Rowbottom would be a good matchup for him. Neil Bullen the week after could go to him. So I don't know, like I'm a little bit sketched out because I think that like more teams probably try and tag Bont than Treloar, but Treloar does feel taggable, which is a bit of a worry. Taranto's obviously out this week with concussion, but then comes back into Collingwood, North, Saints, Hawks. Like this seems reasonable. Anderson's been absolutely cracked away from, at home, but he's only got 2 more home games for the rest of the year. And he is someone that could be tagged. So no Bedford this week probably helps him. Lions, and they could send Berry to him. Eagles could tag. Essendon could tag. D's could tag. So I don't know. I'm probably off Noah Anderson. Oh my god, my mouse is absolutely on the fritz. So who else could we look at? Like Walsh. Yeah, he's been underperforming, which has been good as a non-owner. 66.88 in the last 2. I mean, I guess my like Dawson's kind of offset that to an extent. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with him. I couldn't tell you, but he's also another one of those types that's taggable. Should be all right this week against North. I don't think Port will tag him. Don't think Pies will tag him. So really, this next 3 should be fine for Walsh. Even Hawks probably don't tag him. The types that the Eagles been using to tag wouldn't tag him. So I don't know. Walsh should be okay for the run home from here. Like honestly, probably more of a trading target than trade out. Laird I wouldn't touch. Green I'm not interested in. So really there's not too much else going on. So I think like a Dunkley type over a Sarong makes a fair bit of sense. Yeah, like a Walsh. I mean, people could go Cripps as a pod, but I don't think I'd personally do that. Although he's been good the last 4, over 100 in each. But yeah. Warner, not interested in. None of that. Yeah, okay. Mids are tricky. And then in the forward, in the rucks. Yeah, I mean, I kind of talked through the rucks already in terms of who to consider. But yeah, it's like some combination of Marshall, Cherry, Nankervis, Grundy, DeConing, and then Gorn's potentially back this week as well. And the forwards here, so Flanders, Caldwell, Zorko, Heaney, Moore, Simpkin. Now, I think like Jackson without Darcy would be over Simpkin, and I also think that like if Rankin comes back, he could be considered. And the last one here would be who's the last forward that I'm thinking of? Oh, Fisher, if he returns, I think he's like a worthy consideration. But honestly, Simpkins fine. And to anyone that picked up Brian Myers, he did pretty well, and I think like these next few matchups should be all right for him as well. So unless Cat's form drops off a cliff, I mean I'd expect them to beat the Dogs, North, Crom. Yeah, like he should be good. He should be good on the run home, I imagine. I think he'll perform better in their wins. But yeah, bit of a tricky spot for me. Like ideally, who would I trade out? I think like if forwards weren't so bad, I'd probably say Simpkin, um, even though he's made good money. Um, Hold up, get him on the field. So I'm not looking at this emergency loophole. Uh, and then in the midfield, like yeah, I want to get off Sarong. I think probably want to get off Dawson at some point. LDU, I think will end up holding. And in defense, I want to get off Young for Newman in particular. And I don't have much money, only 35k. And this is where if I'd had someone like Philippou from the week before, it would have been handy because I could have gotten off a couple of these people. Instead, I guess it does give me an opportunity to fix that problem that I was bemoaning of not having a loophole. So I could do something like get rid of, if these will stick for me, get rid of Thomas this week, 458k. He's got a fair bit of change on his head. I mean, the other option is to get rid of Fraser, who's been a bit up and down. Not sure. Probably get rid of Thomas, I think. Even though he's been good, he's been impressive, I think. I haven't got break even in front of me. This fixture I don't really love for GWS. This looks a bit tricky. So as a small playing in the harder fixture, get rid of him. Now I'm just going to bring in any 200k player for now, and I'll probably bring in a loophole even over someone that's playing. I mean, Collard's going to be out for a while, but just on principle, he's not coming in. If you actually genuinely need a rookie this week, I think the one to consider is probably Drew, without having a look at all of them. Although he might be too expensive already. No, is it Drew? No, True, isn't it? Not Drew. True, Zane True. He scored a 96, which is good. So sorry, just any 200k player. This should not be hard for me to do. Bins, sure. I mean, actually, like you want someone with DPP, and I probably want someone with defender DPP, so I can loop up there. So I probably want like who's a defender forward? Because I've got McAuliffe as a mid loop, right? Um, there really should be an easy way to like figure this out. I know there's Will Dawson from North 237, but is there someone that's like not as expensive? Well, Woden's been playing games, don't like that. How do I why is it going to game played 1 over 0? I don't want games played. That's so strange. Is there genuinely zero but then there are some down here that don't have any games played. That's so weird. Oh, here we go. Snell, defender forward, 200k. Done. That'll have to do. All right, that leaves me. That took way too long to figure that out. 293k to make trades. So yeah, like I think by the way, I would have done Young to Stewart and then another trade if I could have, but I'm not gonna have enough money. I had a very quick look at half a second when I had a chance at work today. So I think I'm gonna get off Sarong's Wild Ride, and find basically any mid to replace him with. So just having a look at the mids, who's got a decent run coming up? Brisbane Lions run is not particularly great. Swans hard matchup, but like they're in good form. North, I've already got LDU. Saints, I'm not touching. Steel, not a believer. Brio, I mean, like, I guess the interesting one here is like Brayshaw. Where are you at, Brayshaw? He didn't do very well, but I like as a pod, I mean, maybe he's found some better form. Could go okay in this softer matchup. I think that's one I've got to consider. and then get off him around this GWS time. I don't think any teams tag him over Young or Clark or Sarong. Like he should be fourth in line. Gold Coast, kind of already mentioned, I wouldn't touch. I mean, Anderson Anderson for the run home, that could be interesting, round 21 to 24 here, but only one game at home. The other three, other four away. But like West Coast, they could maybe beat away. Richmond, you'd imagine, with how bad Gold Coast been, that's tough. Port, I've already got both the Port boys. West Coast is no primo mids to touch. Hawks, I'm not going back to Will Day. Doesn't really leave much. Dogs have got the green matchup, or like nice matchups in 3 of the next 4, but I don't think I can go to Trelaw. And GWS, I'm not going to get on green. After the next 2 weeks, the fixture's bad anyway. So, doesn't leave me a lot. Where's Carlton in all this? North they've got as a hard matchup, Port, and then after that, it's okay probably for the run home. What do I do here? Is it ever? I mean, going like Sarong to Brayshaw feels so weird. I guess the only other thing I can consider here is what's Philippou at 460k. I could get him in as like a 23rd player, but if I don't have the loopholes, it seems kind of silly. I'm not sure if this trade will stick. This is always the hard part once you get part of the year and you're doing sideways trades. Like I do not love that trade. It is so primed to backfire, but at the same time, like it kind of makes sense. Um, so then let's just quickly line up for the week. So Saints play early against on the Saturday against West Coast, which should be potentially a good score for Sean Makers. And then Port play Richmond, which I think once again could be a good score for Evans as well. The grabbing Snell is actually useless as a loop this week. Can't really loop him with either of those, which is pretty painful. So I think I'll just keep Logan as the one that is stuck there. Way to pick up the most useless loop this week. We'll have to find a better one than that. Maybe someone viewing has got a name in mind. And then, but Dowling, we want to loop here on Friday night, see how he scores. If he goes well, then I think we could look at taking off like a Simpkin this week against Carlton is probably the one that I would loop off. If Dowling goes like 90 plus, I think I'd do that pretty comfortably. Vice captain, captain this week. So I kind of already mentioned Butters. Merritt, I think, should have a good bounce back game against the Crows on Friday night as well. Yeah, so like Merritt into Butters, I think could make sense. A little bit sketched out by the tag, but I could definitely look at that. Who else have we got? Oh, and then Curvis, I mean, like could be a decent captain. I don't think I trust that though. Wouldn't touch Goulden into his matchup. Yeah, it's probably Merritt into Butters. If you've got Walsh or Cripps, then I could see people throwing the C on them as the last game of the round as well. Okay, well that's me for the week. Hope you had a good week. Hope you've been doing well. Up to just inside the top 800 now. Would be amazing to finish top 1,000 from here. Pretty hard usually at this point in this year to make up bulk ranks, but we'll see how we go. Anyway, hope you had a good week. Hope you're traveling well, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.